This week, we address working with browsers and operating systems. To begin with, we started talking about operating systems and wanting to know whether or not you were aware that you are not actually dialed into the operating system that comes with your computer. The operating system is really just a platform that connects your hardware and software for all the activities of the computer. It really allows that software package to communicate with the hardware. And there's three key players in this. You've got Windows, Unix, and the Mac OS. Now those are the key players. There are other operating systems created by hobbyists and the like, but those are kind of the three basics that you'll run into. Now Windows is a proprietary type of operating system created by Microsoft, and it comes preloaded on most PCs that are shipped today. Similarly, the Mac operating system, Mac OS X, for example, comes preloaded on Macs, and it is an Apple proprietary operating system. The interesting thing is you can choose to use a different operating system than what comes preloaded with your system. Now, Unix or Unix-like systems are open source operating systems, and they can run on a variety of hardware. Now, what is meant by open source? Many developers and hobbyists contribute to the development of open source technology, and they have this common goal of developing a stable system through information sharing. For example, if they're creating an operating system and they found a bug, they announce it and they work together as a group sharing information until that bug is fixed. And the idea that initially behind the open source is that ideally a more stable system would be developed than what comes standard from some of the corporations like Microsoft, because you have more active minds working on the product to make it better. Now, some examples of Unix-like systems would be Linux Red Hat, Ubuntu, other Unix-like systems like Plan 9, Inferno, and Solaris. They have been gaining in popularity lately among hobbyists because of their stability and reliability, and it's much preferred by some developers. And oftentimes Microsoft was seen as kind of the bad guy in the industry, starting to be almost like a monopoly-esque type of feel with regards to Microsoft. It's like you don't get a choice when you buy a PC. It comes with Windows, and a lot of people weren't too happy with that because they were having some problems with this operating system, and there sprung the idea of open source development for operating systems. So with regards to operating systems, it's important that you know what type of operating system runs with your hardware, and that you know that you can change it and that you're not stuck with that if you find that it's a little buggy and things are going wrong. And it's also just important that you understand how to work with that operating system. With regards to browsers, now browsers are actually a software package that enable the users to view the information on the web by translating the code for the web page you are on. The web page is actually just a document that you view using the browser. And you can actually right-click on the web page to view the source code, to see the code or see the back end behind the development of this web page. So for example, if I were to look here and I'm looking at my account on Google Accounts in my Firefox browser, I use Firefox because as a web developer it helps me. It has a lot of interesting tools for web developers. For example, I can select a certain section of a web page and then I can simply view the selection source, and it'll open up the source code so that I can see how that piece was built on the page. You can do that too. If you right-click on a web page, you can view the source code, and you can actually look at the back end behind, or the code that is being translated by the browser that shows you all of this wonderful stuff on the web page. I can also use my Firefox browser with some extensions or special tools that I've added I can view the style sheets for this page, so I can view the CSS, and I can get an idea of some of the styles that they used to develop the page. And you can see, there's a error box and, some styles that were set for the body. We can see a font family that is called out here. So it's been really helpful for me to use Firefox browser. Now this week you actually do get to do a number of tests to determine what your favorite browser might be. Just for my use, Firefox is a winner. Another thing that you may or may not know about browsers is that you can customize them. So you can see by looking at this Firefox browser, I've actually chosen kind of this black and blue button style for my browser, and you can customize the look and feel of Firefox. It's a little more difficult to do with Safari and some of the others, but Chrome and Firefox and Opera, really easy to do to customize the look and feel of the browser. And you can see I've got some things that are bookmarked here, some favorite pages that I go to, and I've got StumbleUpon bookmarked here, and I encourage you to add the StumbleUpon icon, as it'll help you to explore the internet through some common interests that you might have. I've also added the Cool Iris. You can see just by launching the Cool Iris icon here, if I go to, let's look at TV fall previews, and then it probably uses Hulu to show these different TV previews, and the Cool Iris actually helps you browse through things in a really cool and unique way. You can see how it shows things with large icons, and it's similar to one of the Mac browsers that they have just within its own. It comes packaged with Macs. It's a very similar type of browser in the way that you look at things. So I think that the Cool Iris tool might be something that you would like to download. Just do a search on Cool Iris, and it's a quick download, and then it adds this Cool Iris icon in the top right, in this case, to your browser. So there's a lot of ways that you can customize the browser, and you'll have an opportunity through the lab questions to find out a little bit about customizing your own browser. So, back to the notes. With regards to browsers, here are some of the key players. Internet Explorer is a browser that's been created by Microsoft. You've got Firefox, which is a Mozilla-based browser, which we'll talk about in a moment. Safari was originally Mac-based and came packaged with all Apples, just like Internet Explorer tends to come packaged with all PCs out of the box. Opera is a different type of browser that's available. It's very unique, and Chrome is a new browser that was just recently launched by Google. SeaMonkey, another type of browser. It's a Mozilla-based browser. And then Camino. Camino is really interesting. It's also a Mozilla-based browser, but it was originally developed for the Mac, but it also serves as an HTML editor and a chat client. Really kind of interesting. All right, so what is the deal with these key players? Why does Microsoft have an angle on the market with Internet Explorer? Well, currently the top browsers are Internet Explorer, Firefox, and Chrome, believe it or not. Chrome is making a strong showing and is in that top 3 of browsers. And one of the reasons Internet Explorer is so popular is it comes packaged with every PC that's sold. It's kind of your basic standard browser. And so it's going to have an edge because a lot of people don't know you have alternatives in browser choice. Then Firefox has been gaining in popularity because it tends to be less buggy than Internet Explorer. It tends to support a wide variety of code out there, so you can see more web pages, whereas Internet Explorer tends to have a little bit of problems with some of the code that's out there and may not display web pages as intended, whereas Firefox seems to be really solid and seems to show a variety of web pages as they were intended to be shown. And then Chrome is also making a really big showing. Another thing is most Macs are shipped with Safari as the standard browser. Let's take a look at some of these. So if we browse to mozilla.org, it'll explain a little bit more about what the Mozilla program was. And essentially, Mozilla is an open source community. And, they have their belief system right here. We believe that the internet should be public, open, and accessible. It explains that it's an open source project whose code is used for some of the internet's most innovative applications. And so some applications are shown here. Here's a couple of projects that they're working on. Firefox is an example of a very successful web browser from the Mozilla group. And one thing that you need to understand is where the Mozilla group came from. So if we return to the notes, Microsoft was actually beginning to be viewed as a monopoly presence in the industry. And it was kind of getting a bad rap because as a developer and those of us that were working in the industry, we were getting frustrated. A lot of the things that we were creating online as we were developing web pages weren't being viewed very well by Explorer. And it was kind of buggy and it was getting very frustrating. And it really gave rise to this open source initiative. And you can actually read a lot more about it through opensource.org. And this open source initiative gave rise to Mozilla. And Mozilla, the open source community, really stems from Netscape. Netscape was a competing browser, and it really went head-to-head with Microsoft in the late 90s. Netscape was always number 2. And it never could get an edge in the PC community because Netscape typically did not ship as the standard browser with PCs. And it seemed like that was sort of a monopoly presence happening with Microsoft and Internet Explorer. So Netscape decided to release their browser code under the Netscape public license, which allowed for more contributors to the development of the browser and really opened the doors for the competitive advantage, and giving some competition to Microsoft's Internet Explorer by offering more stable browser products. And then ultimately it gives you, the consumer, a choice in which browser you can use. So I invite you now to conduct tests on the following browsers, and you can get the information from the Week 2 HTML page. There are a variety of questions that you will go through in class and test the following browsers. We're going to test Safari versus Opera and Chrome, Internet Explorer, and Firefox. And out of those top browsers, we're going to do a variety of tests and then next week discuss, or the following week discuss, what we found out, what were the findings, and what browsers really worked well for us. And so that's basically your introduction to browsers and operating systems.